quote unquote, are in the county of KILIFI.
Based on interrogations and interviews that have taken place so far with the respondent who is before court, admittedly, based on a purchase, Your Honor, the permits that we are talking about that were issued by the county government have not been annexed, but are available for the court's inspection.
Religious leaders in Siaya County have called on the government to empower national religious bodies to oversee and regulate their members in a bid to tame the rise of cults. Clerics from the Siaya Interfaith Council have said that religious bodies such as the National Council of Churches of Kenya, known as NCCK, and the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, that is EAK, are better positioned to regulate religious societies and report to the government. Speaking at the Siaya Scout Center, the clerics called on the government to conduct investigations into the Shakahola massacre and not to victimize innocent leaders from other denominations. At the same time, an official from Haki Africa, Frederick Ojiro, called on the media to continue shedding light on the Shakahola massacre.
We request our government, also there are existing religious bodies like NCCK, like Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, we have SUPKEM, we have NAMLEF, that they need to strengthen these bodies to do proper inspectorate of the mosques and churches to ensure that right doctrines are being taught and no one is getting misled, that families would suffer death, families would suffer sicknesses, and some of them will lose their loved ones.
Tumeingizwa katika lawama ya mtu mmoja ambapo amefanya maajabu na si amefanya maajabu na ameua watu wengi na security pia liko. Tunasema ya kwamba hao ma security wafanye kazi yao, na sisi naye pia tunaomba Mungu haki ijulikane.
We stand in solidarity with the religious leaders and the religious institutions. And we are saying that there is a law that has allowed them to operate. And the same law has got provisions to deal with individuals that are engaging in criminality. And so no religious institution or religious leader should be blackmailed or castigated, but instead individuals that are found culpable must be taken through the criminal justice process according to the laws of the land.
Maintaining with the Shakahola massacre, the Kenya Counseling and Psychological Association, KCPA, wants the implementation of regulating churches and faith ministries to guarantee protection and care to gullible citizenry and arrest future occurrences of faith-based massacres and harms. The association has condemned the atrocities meted on Shakahola victims that has led to over 100 deaths so far. Here is Alice Diana with that report.
The debate on regulation of religious institutions following deaths reported in Shakahola in Kilifi County due to misguided teachings by Good News International Church's Pastor Paul Mackenzie continues to attract different opinions. Over 100 people thought to be followers of Paul Mackenzie have lost their lives after allegedly being encouraged to fast to death in order to go to heaven.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the Kenya Counseling and Psychological Association, KCPA, is the latest to condemn the heinous acts of the controversial pastor and called on the regulation of faith-based institutions.
We represent as a team the fraternity of counselors and psychologists in condemning the atrocities on the people of Kenya in the Coast Region in the strongest terms possible. Equally, the churches and faith ministries should be regulated to guarantee protection and care to gullible citizenry and arrest future occurrences of faith-based massacres.
KCPA is also calling for a multifaceted approach to crisis at Shakahola, saying a lot of psychological support should be offered not just to the family members of the slain victims, but also to the responders who risk suffering mental challenges.
There is a critical need for the survivors to be put under the care of mental health experts, and particularly counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, for a period of time, or the survivors and their families would benefit from the services of counselors to prevent and even mediate on possibilities of developing mental illnesses such as post-traumatic stress disorders, that is PTSD, and depression, anxiety disorders, and other mental illnesses.
The association has also urged the government, among other stakeholders, to consider working with KCPA practitioners, especially in responding to such disasters and supporting them.
It is important for counselors to be facilitated to be able to articulate that which they are professionals in. So we are well organized as a KCPA. We are spread across the country, and we are well able to respond to each and every psychological issue and disasters that occur in our respective places in our country.
Alice Diana, Hope TV Newswatch.
And elsewhere, Siaya County Governor James Orengo is calling for a thorough audit of the government in the wake of financial challenges that have seen counties fail to receive their share of equitable funds. Governor Orengo has equally supported the call to shut down county government operations countrywide should the National Treasury fail to release funds to the devolved units in the next 2 weeks. Speaking in Siaya County, Orengo lamented the move by President William Ruto's administration to remove subsidies, noting that the decision has not yielded fruit as the country's economy is still struggling. The county boss said that with just 2 months into the closure of the financial year and counties owed a 5-month backlog, the devolved units may find themselves in a quagmire of meeting the tight expenditure deadlines should the Treasury release all the funds owed.
Part of the money that we get as equitable share includes salaries and wages. And suddenly you cannot be having people working and their salaries are not being paid. Their wages are not being paid. Certainly, even before the shutdown, there are some counties where the doctors are already on strike for good reasons, not even for demanding for increases in their pay. Some of them are striking because their salaries are not being paid. We got 2 months to go before the end of the financial year. 2 months. And nearly 5 months have not been disbursed. Suppose those 7 months are made available tomorrow and you're required to spend it in 2 months, undertake processes for development projects. It is a crisis by itself. And the national government, we know, is grappling with the issue of debt on debt, and debt on debt. So the cash crunch we're having puts everybody in a bad situation. I must say that in Siaya, despite everything, we have not failed to pay salaries. When we came in, some of the salaries were not being paid, and salary byproducts like statutory deductions were being retained in order to fund activities which could not be vouched for.
Elsewhere, the Nairobi County government has reclaimed land at the Tasia Kwandege Hospital in Embakasi area in efforts to reduce cases of land encroachment. While addressing the press, the area member of the County Assembly, Ricardo Nyantika, said that the move will fast-track the provision of the much-needed facilities to the residents of the informal sector. The county government is also expected to provide medical supplies and an ambulance to the health facility next week. In addition, the Deputy Director of the Gender Inclusivity Department, Jane Gishure, noted that the county government has upscaled its efforts to improve health facilities that cater to people with disabilities known as PWDs and sensitize them on their rights.
And we will be securing the property down there at Kwandege with a wall, kwa sababu watu walikuwa wameencroach, wameiba paka hiyo hospitali, wameachia mlango tu ya kuingia. So we have been able to block that kind of encroachment. Na sasa tume-request ambulance na gavana akapeana moja ya ambulance, akasema next week atatupatia. Sisi tunasema asante kwa mkubwa wa county, and we are pushing more for the facility to be equipped.
Because the county government of Nairobi wants to step up the services that we are offering for persons with disabilities. And let me say that we are doing a lot in education, and persons with disabilities also access health services. They are also supposed to access sporting facilities from the county, and they are also supposed to access employment from the county. And also not forgetting to mention that we also have the 30% procurement on tenders that is usually reserved for women, the youth, and persons with disabilities.
Kwa sababu hizi zilijengwa na NMS, ni manyumba tu ilijengwa, but na ikapewa title ya hospitali, but in reality the intestines are not for a hospital. But the good thing, we received some drugs. Kuna madawa saa hii, it has been empty for a while. So governor alipeana madawa, that one we appreciate, but we need more. We need more uzuri saa hii, and we need a theater, because there were machines zenye zilikuwa zimewekwa hapa kwa theater. I think there was drama when the former president alikuwa anakuja kufungua, walikuwa wanaleta machine.
In the sports news for today, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania have launched a joint bid for the 2027 Africa Cup